Welcome to Milestone Moments, the show where we explore the journeys that lead to success. I'm Sheila Slick, your host and founder of 5 Milestones. In every episode, we will bring you insights from the minds of entrepreneurs, leaders, and experts who will share not just their expertise, but the milestone moments that have reshaped their journeys and led to significant achievements. So if you're looking for motivation, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and discover the milestones that mark the path to success. Welcome to another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership. I'm your host, Sheila Slick. And today, my special guest is Diane Lauer. Diane is the founder of Simple Systems for Thriving, a transformational leader and systems architect who has dedicated her work to one powerful mission: to help visionary women and purpose-led leaders transform complexity into calm clarity so they can lead, grow, and thrive without burning out. Welcome to the show, Diane.
Thank you for having me, Sheila. This is very exciting.
So, you talk about the simple system as restoring conditions rather than fixing people. Can you take us back to the beginning? What was happening in your own life that led you to do this kind of work?
While I've been studying holistic practices for the past 25 years, last year in May, I lost my job as the CFO at a local nonprofit after 10 years. And with that, I was completely burned out. So I spent this last year really delving into what it means to go through a transition. And I published my first book, Nurturing Wisdom with the Simple System. And really, what we're talking about is first, how do we simplify our lives? How do we create that intentional pause? What is our mindset? What's our potential pathways forward? How do we integrate all of our aspects of our lives so we create a supportive system and so we can embark and engage in a bright and beautiful future for ourselves? And the more I delved into this work, what I realized is how many limiting beliefs I had around my own abundance capacity. So when we look into our own personal capacity, what's stopping us and what we're telling ourselves around what we deserve and what is available to us? And really, what's stopping us from stepping over that threshold to the next version of who we're becoming, especially as middle aged women?
So when we talk transitions, it sounds like in your case, the catalyst was a career transition, which is often common. And sometimes it may be, I'm so sick of doing what I've been doing for 25 years. I'm ready to do something else. Is that the kind of women or people that you find are looking for you or for your services?
So really, I'm speaking to women that are identified as a depleted giver, and they're trying to move into more a grounded, abundant place. So we're talking about women that feel like they're emotionally overburdened and they're hitting patterns of self betrayal and they're reclaiming their own trust, building a life rooted in sustainable reciprocity, truth, and emotional capacity. So we're really looking at what's that internal story that's keeping you stuck wherever you're at so that you can step into that next chapter of your life and really feel comfortable in your own skin. And really, I work with visionary CEOs, people, women that are starting their own small businesses, running nonprofits. And we're really talking about making sure that they feel strong and self led and really tapping into their knowing, their inner authority. So that's where they're making their decisions from. So they're strategic, they're effective, they're efficient, and they're moving themselves towards their goals.
Love to learn a little bit about what the simple SIMPLE stands for in Simple System.
So simple is we first simplify, then we look at our intentional pause. How do we actually take that pause between respond and react? Because that's really where your power is. And that is where, when you have emotional regulation, you can actually see clearly what your next steps are. So I find that a lot of work we need to work around that at creating that intentional pause in our lives. And then we can really move into our mindset around what are the stories we're telling ourselves? And are we living from an abundant mindset or a scarcity mindset? And that could be true in many different aspects of our lives. We have our health, we have our wealth, we have our work, we have our family and our friends. Like, and depending on each individual person, they have different mindsets and different belief systems that are actually running the show. And then we move on to really, where are your positive pathways forward? So, how do you make those intentional choices so that you're moving towards the life you want to create for yourself? And then around that, life integration is the L. And that's looking at your whole person and all of your relationships. That includes the relationship with yourself, as well as your relationships with the other people in your lives. And then that E is really engaging and moving forward in the world. How are you going to show up so that you can live your mission, your purpose, and ensure that you're giving from the overflow so you can show up full and complete and really enjoying your life?
So, what does it actually feel like in the body when a woman shifts from over functioning to thriving? And how does she know that that change is real?
So I can tell you for myself, my symptoms when I am out of alignment is I have stomach problems, I have headaches, I'm really exhausted. And it's really hard for me to make a decision. So when work with women, we really talk about first grounding and making sure that you're actually in the present moment so that you can feel and sense what is happening, the here and now, where you're not thinking about what's the past, you're not thinking about what's in the future, but really what's happening right here and right now, because that's the best place to make decisions from for yourself. And how does that feel in your body? We talk about that hell yes feeling, when it's a hell yes in your head, a hell yes in your heart, and a hell yes in your gut. You're like, yes, this is exactly how it feels to be fully embodied. And I feel so great about whatever is coming next. It could be the vacation you selected, it could be your next project you're moving out to, or in this case, participating in a book.
I love that. And I even felt the energy that you just sent me by doing that. Yes. I mean, I could just see it. And I know that you can't see Diane, but hopefully you felt it in her voice. So when you say grounding, in my mind, grounding is when you're barefoot touching the earth, whether it be the sand at the beach or the grass in your backyard or in the park. Is that the kind of grounding that you're referring to?
So, yes, that is part of it. So, what you're more referring to is like the practice of earthing, where you actually are standing on the natural, on the ground, barefoot, and bringing in the vibrations or the energy of that earth energy. You can do that when you're not standing on the ground. You can actually do that at any point wherever you're at. You could do it standing in the grocery line or sitting in traffic. And it goes back to that mindset component of our work so that you're able to find your center, your base, so you're stable. And sometimes there's a number of different methodology. One is as simple as I use my mind's eye and I visualize myself standing on that earth. But I have the intention of breathing in the earth energy and releasing what's no longer serving. It's like almost letting go of that charge, that electrical charge that we have. So a great visualization is if you're thinking of a three-prong plug. So your feet are the two up top, and then you have this grounding cord that comes out of your tailbone into the ground. So as you bring in the earth energy through your feet and you release whatever is not serving you back into the ground through that grounding cord, and you can circulate that energy. And it's really a very effective way to help us come back to that calm and centered place. So once again, we're really able to tap into our inner knowing and make the best decision for ourselves in this moment in time.
You're really taking me there with the descriptions. You're a great
Yeah.
storyteller because I'm visualizing what you're describing. So, emotions as sacred data is such a powerful reframe. What is one emotion that women most often dismiss, and what would you want them to know?
I would say the one emotion that I have found women really dismiss is feeling uncomfortable. So situations, conversations, um, even when you're out and about, like we have that knowledge. So you're walking down the alleyway and something feels off. You're not quite sure. So what do we do as women? We like stop, we scan, we're like, all right, why am I feeling off? Like, is there somebody standing on the sidewalk that's making me nervous or anything like that? So when we're alert and paying attention, we feel that discomfort. But then there's other points in our lives where we dismiss it and we just kind of go, it's just my head. Oh, that's not anything to be worried about. But the reality is, if there is a situation or conversation that you're needing to shrink so that you can still participate in, maybe maybe your trigger is somebody speaking loudly, or it's a really long line at the grocery store and somebody's getting agitated, and those places are uncomfortable, but that's where you get your data. So now you can understand what it means, that what your needs are and how you're currently feeling. So you can adjust your expectations. You can adjust what you're expecting from a situation, and you can get back into that grounded place so that you know that you have the authority to choose, and you get to choose over and over and over, because that choice is your intentional action, and that's how you choose what your future is. That's how you co-create your life.
For any woman listening out there that perhaps wants to reach out to you or learn more about your simple system framework, what's the best way to reach you?
So they can go to my website, simplesystemsforthriving.com, or you can read much of my material on Substack. My Substack is Abundance Capacity with Diane, and I have a number of videos and articles, and you can reach out to me in either of those places, and I would love to hear from you.
So, before we wrap it up, for a woman in the middle of a life transition right now, what is the one thing she can do to release her energy leak?
First and foremost, I want you to look at your schedule and say, what on my schedule do I have to do? Because I'm the absolutely only person in the world that can do it. And then I want to look at your schedule and say, what can I get off my schedule? Can I delegate it to a coworker or an employee? Can I solicit help from my husband's or my spouse or friends? How do you free up that physical capacity, emotional capacity, mental capacity, so that you can be whole and complete?
So, when we say energy leak, are these places where women perhaps are spending a lot of their energy and it's to reclaim some of that energy? Is that what you're saying?
So, what I'm saying is, I find there is a lot of obligations on women and especially emotional labor is the number one place where I find women leak an incredible amount of energy. And when I talk about emotional labor, it is that monitoring of everybody else's well being, and ours comes last. So we need to make sure that people in my workplace are feeling okay and they're comfortable. But I'm going to over respond to people's discomfort and take on that burden. Or it could be with a spouse, it could be with your children, it even could be with your parents and our friends. We do it all the time. You ever get together with a friend for a drink and all of a sudden they're dumping all their problems on you and you walk away and you're like, oh my God, what do I do with this? And then you sit and you ruminate. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to fix this for her? The reality is, it's not your job. Don't carry it with you. You can sit, you can participate in a conversation with your loved ones, but you don't have to take the responsibility of carrying their emotions. They get to keep that. You get to be a support system, but it's not your responsibility to carry and take on all of that fixing that we do. So when I talk about energy leaks, I'm talking about what is for you to carry and what is for somebody else to carry, because otherwise you're like a colander and all of your energy just gets poured out and there's nothing left for you. Your cheesecloths, you're just all kind of flaky but you can actually pull in those, emotional boundaries and start to create a nice, solid container for yourself because your energy matters. That's your life force. And you need that so that you can live the life you want to build.
Well, that is a beautiful ending. Thank you so much for joining me today, Diane.
Thank you, Sheila. It was so much fun talking to you.
And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership. Until next time.